might have put this look together because I wanted to be ironic, or I might have put this fit together because this is something I would still wear today. Hi there, it is so good to see you. My name is Lista and welcome to my channel, Lista Decoded. This is a space where I get to fangirl and nerd out, and this is where I get to overanalyze things, break things down, and put it into my own interpretations and feels. In this video, let's dive into a very infamous year, 2016. It's still really hard for me to believe that 2016 was 10 years ago, but time has in fact passed. And for a lot of people online, there's been a trend of being nostalgic for 2016. I've seen a ton of posts of people even saying that 2026 is the new 2016. And they've been sharing different posts of fashion, music, and everything that feels like 2016. It's a very distinct time, and I feel like in a lot of people's lives, and I mean, even when I mention the year 2016, you're probably thinking of water bottle flips, the mannequin challenge, dabbing, Harambe, Pokemon Go, and a lot of other things that come from that year. Even people have made memes that the worst day in 2016 was so much better in comparison compared to a regular Tuesday in 2026 where the President of the United States threatens openly to bomb an entire nation. So this has got me thinking, why are people trying to reminisce the good old days or remembering things when time seemed simpler? Where does nostalgia even come from? Let's dive into what even nostalgia means. This part specifically is for my younger self because I'm a sucker for etymology. Nostalgia is two Greek words combined, nostos and algos, meaning a homecoming and pain, grief, distress, respectively. The word in literal terms means a pain for a homecoming or the distress to return home. With the current state of the world right now, it makes sense with that definition of nostalgia that people are wanting to return to something that feels comfortable, that feels like home. And as we know, there has been a lot going on in the US and around the world. The world went through a pandemic and it's still feeling the repercussions of it. There have been massive human rights violations and atrocities globally. A growing income inequality gap has not made living easy, and political polarization has continued to increase. These are all various factors happening right now at the same time, and it makes sense why people want to turn away. I get it. It's been exhausting, to say the least, on constantly seeing a never-ending news cycle that's filled with chaos. Like, are we serious? This is the world and the economy that I'm supposed to be living in, especially as a young adult? So yeah, I think it makes sense why people are trying to find some sort of comfort, especially when certain areas of our lives feel like they're out of our control. Nostalgia isn't necessarily something that's negative, especially when it helps us find meaning during stressful times. It also can remind us of things that we enjoy, especially when the world seemed to be a lot brighter and better in the world. Now, thinking about 2016 nostalgia, I'm going to be a little niche and talk about a very specific experience that people have been nostalgic for, which is the yeemo era. This has become the retroactive label for people who were emo at the time in 2016. And I remember this term yeemo specifically being used to describe people who liked emo memes or even were fans of the YouTuber Crank That Frank. Just like the broader 2016 nostalgia, being emo meant there were certain core elements that were attached to it. This included certain Tumblr posts and memes, chokers and flannels, these band logos from the time, going to Hot Topic for band t-shirts and Funko Pops, and even certain phrases like small bean. It's been cool to see people diving back into this specific experience because that was actually my experience in 2016. I was a full-fledged emo through and through, and I was in middle school in 2016. So I had a bias for 21 Pilots, but I listened to a lot of artists under the emo umbrella. This includes Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, Paramore, Halsey, and I could probably keep going because the list of quintessential music artists for 2016 was quite long. Beyond specifically music taste, a big part of the emo experience was YouTube. So I watched a lot of videos, of course, from Crank That Frank and his family-friendly alternative content. And I also watched other YouTubers like Jesse Page and also Let's Play YouTubers like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, so I know the yeemo experience well. For me though, I'm not entirely sure if I would want to go back to that time in my life. I mean, were things simpler? Yeah, I was in middle school, so I didn't have to worry about money or any adult responsibilities, but I also wasn't politically aware at the time because I was in middle school. And I've actually enjoyed that process of my life where I become more politically aware, and I feel like even right now I have more certainty on what I want to do with my life too. But of course, the conversation of increased political awareness and whether that's a positive or a negative is a totally separate conversation, and I understand why people are more nostalgic and want to go back to simpler times. The world was so much simpler for me though during that time, and the most stressful thing I had to worry about was what band shirt I was going to wear that day. Like I said before though, there are important things that we can take away from nostalgia because it can help us advance towards better meaning and purpose. And it's been nice to see people even connecting to emo music because it helps people find meaning and purpose. Emo music has been on the rise, and it's been going through different waves. It's been seen as a response against capitalism and government, and it's even given people anthems against illegal government actions and allows people to express themselves in their political climate. I'm really glad that this kind of music has given people, including myself, comfort. But let's not ignore that this kind of music, especially emo music, was not necessarily welcomed, especially in 2016, like at all. It was really considered cringe to be liking this music or to be seen as emo. Especially back in 2016, you were not allowed to be cringe whatsoever, even if people falsely believe today that it was okay to be cringe back then. Maybe this is another reason on why I don't want to go back to 2016. People were very mean online back then, and life was already tough for someone who wasn't super confident and trying to figure out life, especially in middle school. The internet was ruthless 10 years ago, and it's still ruthless today. And speaking of, what was even the reality of 2016? Was it all rosy and nice like we remember? Just like 2016 politics was chaotic, to say the least, in the US and around the world. In early 2016, the International Atomic Energy Agency announced that Iran adequately dismantled their nuclear weapons program. Interesting. Rodrigo Duterte was elected as the president of the Philippines. And also, the United Kingdom left the European Union. Let's not even forget late 2016. Trump was elected as the president of the United States for his first term. North Korea also at this time was conducting its biggest nuclear testing ever, and the United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 2334, which condemned Israeli settlements in Palestinian territory since 1967. These were all very consequential moments that led up to our present political moment today. So 2016 wasn't a very politically stable year either. Maybe things just felt better back then because flooding the zone wasn't a component at the time for the US presidential administration. The news cycle was able to stay on one pressing issue at the time and not have to move on very quickly, whether it was happening in the US or around the world. And I think people were able to actually trust news sources and even public media overall. 2016 seemed to be a time where the internet was less fragmented and the world seemed less intense, but realistically, it was filled with just as much chaos and uncertainty just like today. It's clear though that our need for comfort is so much stronger than our memory for chaos. When we reminisce on the version of 2016 that we remembered and experienced, it offers us temporary relief from the current political instability, and we should use that comfort to find a way forward. I strongly believe that we shouldn't necessarily just focus on reliving the past, but instead using the things that we enjoyed from the past to help us shape what we want to see for the future. And don't get me wrong, I'm still carrying parts of myself from 2016, with this bracelet, with this shirt, and even my makeup. This stuff I've had for a long time. I believe that certain fundamental parts of who I am are still from 2016, especially in my music taste. And I find a lot of comfort from a lot of older albums, especially when I was listening to them for the first time as a young teen. And I still think about the times when I was a young teenager. I do believe though that I think it's important that we can all still evolve and change, including myself. I also believe that my 2016 self, my middle school self, would want myself and even the world to improve and grow rather than just for all of us to stay in the past. Especially as we continue to remember and even reminisce a little bit more on the time in 2016, Let's remember what we can take from that year. That allows us to help make even a better future, where we do not have to necessarily react all the time to political instability. And I really do believe we can make the change together. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts on 2016 nostalgia? Were you a fellow yeemo? Feel free to leave your comments down below. Also, if you like more videos like this, please feel free to click the subscribe button and be sure to follow me on my other social media platforms. I hope you have a wonderful day.